Hello everybody, today I'm going to be talking about reimagining business software with Zoho One. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to webinars@zoho1.com. My name is Travis Compton. Very quickly about me, I do some design stuff here, some content creation stuff, such as webinars like this, as well as ebooks and a few other things. But enough about me, so let's talk about the agenda. So what are we doing today? We're going to start off talking about why is business software due for reimagining, what needs to change, and what does Zoho One aim to change here. Software distraction, this ties into why software is due for a reimagining, why business software is due for a reimagining. Then we'll be talking about Zoho One in particular and how it does this sort of reimagining, this sort of reinvention of how people think about business software typically and how it seeks to challenge a lot of those ideas. And then we will go into the next steps and Q&A portion. So, software creates productivity so you can focus on your core business. This is a big part of what Zoho One seeks to do here. We are trying to remove a lot of the barriers that software seems to have introduced over time. Software should make it easier for you to do your job, but oftentimes it gets in the way and actually complicates things a bit. This can lead to a lack of focus on what you're trying to do throughout the day, and instead creating a bunch of problems that are new that you didn't have before trying to use business software. So right now, software currently creates both productivity and inefficiency. The productivity is good, and it can be really useful and help your business in all sorts of ways. But the inefficiency that wasn't there before can cause a lot of frustration, drain a lot of resources, and be a whole unique problem that you have to learn how to deal with. We're trying to cut that out entirely. So some of these common software distractions, some of these inefficiencies, the long procurement processes. So maybe you're looking for software to do a particular thing like a CRM. Well, now you have to look over all these different vendors and figure out which one's the best for you. The integration costs and complexity. This is a big problem for a lot of companies, small and large. We have these different bits of software, we have these different vendors. How do we tie them all into one another now that we have all these different working parts that are handling different parts of our business? And how much is that going to cost? The account and application management. This, in previous webinars I've done, has been quite an issue for a lot of people. If you have a big business, this is an even larger issue, as now you're trying to juggle all these different users, you're trying to manage all these different applications for them, and it can be really challenging. And talking about inefficiencies, this can be one of the biggest one here. And then the traditional software sales model, kind of predatory, not fun for anybody. The salesperson probably isn't enjoying it that much. You're definitely not enjoying it. As someone that's been in on these sorts of calls, they are no fun at all. I have sat through many, many hours of people trying to teach me about their product, but subtly and then not so subtly trying to just sell it to me and close a deal. And this is to not even mention the contract lengths and the prices ballooning and all the other stuff that goes along with that. So let me get into each of these in a little bit more detail. The first one, application procurement. More applications. As you're growing your business, you might need more applications to run your business. That means more evaluation for every single one. That means more cost because you're spending time. And also now you have all these different applications that are running simultaneously, billing you simultaneously, different contracts being juggled, different agreements. And now you have more delays as you look at more software, evaluate more software, see how each additional piece of software works with the other ones you've already chosen. And you do this over and over again until you've built what you hope is a functional set of software to run your business. This is a fun graph. It's a lot, as you can see. So this is the marketing technology landscape graph. Each category is a different area where business software comes into play. And as you can see, or maybe as you can't see, there are thousands of logos here. No, not millions, but thousands. And it's a nightmare because as you're looking at, say, content marketing under content and experience, for example, you see all the different businesses involved in that and all the different bits of software that they're making that are not even listed here. This is just the business logos. Multiply this multiply this with as many categories as there are here, and it becomes a pretty miserable time for everybody involved. So a little history to this. In 2011, you could see we had the boxes, and we have all these logos in them. You could kind of see these logos, even at this small size, only 150 of them. In 2012, we've more than doubled, and now we have a unique bubbles in bubbles design that is trying to account for the complexity of this technology landscape. In 2014, we have our familiar boxes. They've made a return, and there are more than 1,000 different vendors here. 2015, 2,000, 2016, 3,500, 2017, 5,000, and that's when you get this crazy looking graph at this point. It looks crazy, but it is accurate. You probably don't want to go over all of these vendors to try and solve all your different business needs, business software needs. That is a staggering amount of time and resources that you would have to devote there to figure things out. And I don't envy you if you're trying to do that. Integration costs and complexity. So the resources, they're drained, right? I've heard that for every $1 spent on business software, $5 is spent on integrating them. That's a lot of money. And that's kind of the hidden cost that is not talked about a lot when you're in the nightmare sales process that they are putting you through. Your resources are being drained as you just try to tie these software pieces into each other. This is not even to talk of the previous effort of evaluating and choosing them. And in the worst case scenario, you're paying where the 5 to 1 dollar ratio comes in is here. Having to hire developers or find yet another platform to link up your two previous platforms. It's a lot of work, and it only compounds as you grow. This creates the integration spaghetti, what we'd like to call the integration spaghetti. It looks good here on the screen, but in your business, it becomes a real problem. You have all these different bits of software that are tied into each other in different ways and kind of ramshackle ways, and they're crossing and connecting, and they're all getting in each other's way, and it becomes this huge mess that you then maybe even have to hire somebody else to try and just keep track of, because straightening it out is impossible. Doing away with that is a huge help to a lot of companies. Account and application management means more inefficiency, more administrative work, and less security. So now you have all these different bits of software. They're integrated in all these different ways, and maybe you have all these other platforms that are integrating them. Well, now you have more administrative work that you have introduced. So different people being added to these bits of software means different invoices for different employees, for different bits of, it could even be down to usage of each software. Less security, because now you're trying to manage all these users and all these profiles across all these different pieces of software, which all have their own way of managing these things and different prices associated with different seats and roles, and it becomes this even greater mess. You can see how these things start to compound. They started compounding several slides ago, and now it becomes this huge mess, and it's really expensive, and businesses pay for this. So this screen, as someone that flies often enough, is terrifying to me, because okay, you figure person in seat number 1 on the left there, maybe they're handling, maybe today they'll handle 300 switches and 50 lights, and that'll take the workload off person 2, who only has to handle 200 dials and 300 thingamabobs that they maybe don't even know the usage of. I have faith in the pilots, but I don't have faith in this system. This system scares me. I don't know how modern this is, but you get the idea. This can be really complex, and if your business looked like this, I'm sure you would be unhappy and confused, which is, not a good combination. Then the traditional software sales model. So, okay, you found the right CRM, you found the right reporting business intelligence tool. Now it's time to maybe sign up for it and get into the sales cycle for it. During the sales cycle, you might make a call, and the person on the other end of the phone might see that you're ready to sign up and do as much as they can to keep the price as opaque as possible because they don't want to ruin your excitement. And in doing so, they make a little bit extra money off the top. So keep the price as opaque as possible. That's not something we're interested in doing with Zoho One whatsoever. The price is very clear. It's up front. I'll get into it in a moment. And when it changes, the only reason it'll change is because you're adding an employee, right? There's no, I'm opening one door and behind it is another door, and behind that's another door, and it looks nice. Well, let's see what's behind that door. Door number 1 is door number 2 through 15, and then back to door number 1. It becomes this huge thing where you think you're done, you think you've signed up, but in reality, you might have one more hurdle to go through. Whoops, you might have actually signed up for yearly. Whoops, you might have a multi-year contract. Whoops, I want to get out of this multi-year contract and now I'm paying to get out of it. It becomes this really abusive, awful cycle that no one wants to be a part of. And frankly, we don't want to be a part of it either. Lying to people isn't fun. Making things overly complex isn't fun. Even for most salespeople, which are still people. So, Zoho One. How do we seek to change this? Well, it is $1 a day per employee in your organization, right? Very simple. There is no cost-benefit analysis. You get everything all up front for every employee, right? Super easy. One suite to run your business, and we want to cover all of your business with 35 plus web apps and 40 plus mobile apps. So I'm going to go over a couple of categories here, different categories of your business that we want to serve, because as a business you have to do all these things, and we want to have the right tools and apps to help you do those things. So apps for marketing, sales, and customer care. A marketing app like Zoho Campaigns helps with campaign automation, email automation, sales, CRM, right? Everyone's familiar with that. And then on the support side, you have all sorts of things like customer surveys, customer support through Zoho Desk, Motivator to help keep your employees motivated and goal-oriented. Running operations, so this is the back-end apps for your finance, HR, and asset management. We have things like subscription, if you're a subscription-based business. Books to run your entire back-end finances. Zoho Invoice to handle all your invoicing to customers. So we're trying to handle all these different areas here on the back end, as well as helping you serve your customers. So empowering employees, super important. Zoho Mail, Zoho Click for internal chat, Show for presentations, Docs for file storage, Writer for word processing. We're trying to cover all these areas so that you don't have to worry about going elsewhere. And of course, we use all this stuff internally too. So we eat our own dog food. Apps to build differentiation through customization, such as Zoho Reports for custom analytics. You can compare 2 different data sets, build out reports, build dashboards through that. And then Zoho Creator, which is a really powerful tool that we use for building custom apps. And we use quite a few of those internally as well for things as simple as ping pong, score tracking, to things as complex as the entire document editing queue runs through that to help organize and notify when things are ready for editing, when things are ready for publishing. It's very powerful and it has a lot of different uses. So there's 4 issues, remember those? Typical app procurement. How does Zoho One address the more evaluation, more cost, and more delays? Well, we let you evaluate on your own terms. So we don't push you to evaluate in a particular way or use a certain app before any others. If your business has a need for CRM, well, as soon as you start your 30-day Zoho One trial, check out CRM. You can start there. If you want to just check out the customer support section, fine, cool, no problem. You can check out Zoho Desk and all the other apps we use for that. And then if you need more than 30 days, because we recognize there's a lot going on here, no problem. We can extend that trial for you, and you can continue checking things out and feeling things out before you make any commitments. As I just showed you, We have apps and marketing, sales, operations, and more. So in your evaluation process, you're not going to be paying more. You're not going to be dealing with different trial dates ending on different days. You can just check out all of these different fields that we serve, all in the 30 days or more. No more searching through dozens of vendors, right? We're trying to offer all these different apps to run an entire business. We're taking a holistic approach to this. And then simply turning on apps as the need arises. So as a small business, maybe you don't need an invoicing tool, or you don't need the internal chat tool. No problem. But as you grow, these things might become useful. As you turn on more apps, you don't have to worry about paying more. What you pay with Zoho One, the $1 per employee in your organization, no matter how many apps you use, we're not going to increase that on you. You can turn them on as you wish, and it doesn't change anything about how we bill you. As an example, here's the screen that you will see within Zoho One. You can see several different apps here: Assist, Books, Campaigns, Checkout. Just you can jump in and out, whichever one of them, check them out, exit it, go to Creator, go to CRM, and you can just check all these things out a little bit by bit or focus down on one. And within Zoho One, it's really easy to get in and out of these, right? You just navigate using the screen. Super easy. Everything's there for you. Typical integration cost and complexity. So we know how expensive integration can be, and we want to alleviate that as much as possible, which is why we have more than 400 points of integration across the entire Zoho One Suite. They let you connect sales, marketing, customer support, accounting, human resources, and more. We're tying all this stuff together because realistically, that's how businesses run. These things should be tied together, and that data should be shared across these different apps, across these different areas of your business, so that you have a more bird's eye, eagle eye view of what's going on within your business. We're totally ready for third-party integrations. We have all these integrations built in Zoho One, but we are not saying that you have to shut off and create an isolated environment from all these other third-party apps that you might be using and you might not be ready to leave yet. We don't want to force you to leave those things. If it's working for you, okay. Do we think it makes more sense to focus on sticking to apps within Zoho One because they're already integrated and it simplifies a lot of other stuff? Yeah, totally. But we're not going to force you to do that. When your business does well, we tend to do well too. So we don't want to prohibit you from exploring other options and keeping processes that we recognize take a long time to transition, and it can be a job all its own getting from one app to another. So we're not going to force you out of anything. But this is a big one, right? One support organization. So when you have an issue going on in your business process, whether it be in sales or in marketing, whatever it may be, a technical issue, having Zoho One, you can just call us and we can work through it, and you don't have to call multiple vendors and see how things are connected and work on all that on separate phone calls with separate companies that might shift blame. You can just call us, we could work on all of it all at once, and we can see what's going on. So there is no concern of the kind of support juggling that a lot of people have to do, and I've personally done in my personal life with any number of things, least of all an entire business. That's a whole different magnitude. Typical account and application management. So this is a big one. With the admin panel, you have one secure account with single sign-on access to the entire suite. So your employees and you don't have to waste time signing in from one app into another, into another. You get access to all the apps once you sign in, and you don't have to worry about having all these different accounts associated with each single one of them, such that you have to keep track of all these passwords and all this stuff. It's not a problem. Our admin panel makes it super easy, and I'll show you that in a minute. One admin panel to simplify provisioning. So maybe you have people in sales that don't need to use all the support apps or marketing apps. It's totally up to you. You can turn on and off apps for each employee, and it doesn't affect your price or anything. It's just about what makes sense for your business, and you can do this all from one central location instead of having to go from app to software to software. Company-wide security policies. So two-factor authentication, for example, is a big one right now. It recently saved me from losing a bunch of money, and outside of Zoho One. And it's really, really useful. You can just flip a switch and say, okay, across my entire business in Zoho One, two-factor is necessary for anyone to sign in. So here's the admin panel. On the leftmost column, you can see organizations, applications, users. You can break things down this way. Right now we have applications chosen. And the panel directly to the right of it, you see CRM, mail, books, and desk. So right now we've selected CRM, and we're looking at all the users within CRM. And you can see their generic role and profile under it, manager, CEO, standard versus administrator, for example. So using the screen, I can go into CRM and edit the permissions for everyone within the CRM, person by person. I don't have to worry about jumping between all sorts of different screens or anything. It's all right here. And then I can just switch down to mail and continue editing person by person. It's all in the admin panel. Users, so maybe I want to just navigate specifically to one person. Say I have a new employee named Charles Stone, and I want to edit how they can access these different applications without having to go into each app via the previous screen, right? Okay, no problem. Charles Stone, I go in there, and I can add or remove, turn off, or change permissions for all these different applications for this single new employee. Super easy. We let you just break it down however you want. The traditional software sales model. So you know this thing, the thing where you don't know how much you're paying, and they try and upsell you, and you have multi-year contracts that are miserable, and it's a bad experience for everyone. No worrying about that. No multiple invoices. Sign up for Zoho One. You have one invoice to covers the entire suite for your entire business. You don't have to worry about juggling different billing dates and all that stuff. It all comes into one. It's very simple, very clean, very easy. No multi-year contracts that you find yourself suddenly invested in out of the blue, right? This is just a thing where you can sign up monthly or yearly. It's that simple. No nickel and diming. We don't want to go through this with you. It is a bad time to have an angry customer on a phone and constantly negotiate and scrimp and try and figure out, well, we need this and you don't offer this. So all the apps are enterprise editions up front, and a simple predictable price. That's $1 per employee in your organization. Very straightforward. If you want to add or hire somebody, it's less of a big deal getting them plugged into all these different apps by all these different vendors, right? It's all up front, super simple. It just means, okay, we want to hire somebody, no problem. That's just $30 more a month. That's a very low bar to clear. So yes, worth reiterating, our only requirement is that you purchase a Zoho One license for every employee in your organization. It's pretty straightforward. So there are certain situations where, well, this employee is not on a computer at any point during their day, but they are technically employees. We talk about these things on a case-by-case basis, and we're willing to work with you on those. We don't want to be unreasonable here. But why are we doing this in general? We want to de-ration business software. And what I mean by that is you get a complete set of tools to use as needs arise. So you don't have to worry about software being this rare, expensive thing that you can only met out to certain employees who need it on a case-by-case basis because the rates are too high and the contract doesn't fit. None of that, right? We just want it to be very straightforward. Empower all your employees to use what they need to get the job done. The tools to be productive are there. Why shouldn't employees be able to use them without charging you a massive amount of money? You can stop conducting endless cost-benefit analysis, so fewer graphs. I think we can all get behind that. And then you get peace of mind. Pretty simple. There's no question when you want to hire an employee whether they can technically fit into the current software environment that you've created. Just $30, they're in. And that's Zoho One. So the next steps, make the most of your free 30-day trial. A good way to do this is to focus on just a few apps to begin and then branch out. So 30 days, 35 plus apps. Got to run through them all. No, not the case. If your business just needs to look at CRM apps, no problem. Just check out Zoho CRM, and then maybe you have some time at the end to do some other stuff. Maybe you need a little extra time. We're willing to do that, but really focusing on just a few things and then moving outward from that can be really useful and is what we recommend to everyone that's evaluating. Just check out the stuff that's most important to you, because otherwise you might get a little overwhelmed. There's a lot to see. We recognize that. But don't worry about time constraints as much. It's 30 days by default, but we are willing to extend that if you need a little bit more time to evaluate things. Contact our concierge team. So our concierge team, I'll put a link at the end of this to check out. They're not a sales team. So you don't have to call them and get worried that, okay, well now they have my information and I can look forward to many calls and emails in the coming weeks from a very chipper person trying to get me to sign up. No, this is a pretty useful team, and we aren't worried about selling to you. What is their function? Well, if it's not selling, well, you can come to them and say, okay, this is the layout of how my business works. How can it fit in the Zoho One universe, right? So I have a sales process that's like this, and it connects to marketing in this way, and my support comes in after all that's done, and they can help you understand more completely how Zoho One will fit onto your company and some of the ideas of, well, maybe check out this app or look in this area. I think this could be something really useful to you. So they're purely there to help you guide the Zoho One process. It doesn't mean you have to implement. They're just there to answer questions and be like a guide, like a concierge, right? And then check out Zoho product webinars. We have a bunch of different products. They all have different webinars. If you're very curious about one in particular, sign up there, check out the individual products website, contact the teams there, and they should be able to help you. So here's some resources for that stuff. There's the concierge link I was talking about at the very top. The frequently asked questions, these are pretty good. They answer a lot of the questions that people have. I definitely recommend checking that out. If you want to know what's included, right, 35 plus apps, but what are they? This goes over each one of them. Applications, mobile, that'll go over the mobile ones in particular. Questions, no time for questions because it's recorded. But if you do have any, please feel free to email at webinars@zoho1.com, and we'll get back to you and let you know what's up, connect you with the right people. And that's going to be it. Thank you for watching this.